Hi everyone and welcome to Bit Knits. Today I'm going to show you how to make the split shell stitch scarf. This is super easy. It's a one row repeating pattern. If you've never crocheted before and you want to make something that looks amazing, try this pattern. To make this scarf, I have used 2 balls of Red Heart Boutique yarn. This is heirloom colorway and a 5.5mm hook. You'll also need scissors and a yarn needle for weaving in your ends. Once you have all that together, let's get started. To make this scarf, I am going to use Red Heart Unforgettable. This self-striping yarn is a size 4 weight medium, and this colorway is called Heirloom. I am also going to be using a 5.5mm crochet hook. Okay, to start our scarf, we're going to do a chain foundation row. And your row should be in measurements of 4 chains and then an additional 3. So you're going to do 4 chains, 4 chains, 4 chains, 4 chains, as wide as you want the scarf to be, and then you're going to add an additional 3. So it has to be a multiple of 4 plus 3. So there's my first 4. I'm going to do another 4, another 4, and you just keep going like this, doing 4, 4, 4, 4 until you get the width you want your scarf to be, and then you add 3 after that. So I'm going to keep going with my multiples of 4. Alright, so I'd like that length for a scarf, so I'm going to do one more 4 set of 4, and then I'm going to chain an extra 3. So there's your foundation chain row. The next row, so you've done your additional 3, you're going to double crochet back into the 5th chain from the hook. So we don't count the loop on our hook, and we don't count that first one where that loop is coming out of. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to double crochet back into that 5th one. Okay, I'm going to put another double crochet into that same stitch. We're going to chain 1 and do 2 more double crochets back into that same place. So that starts our little split shell V-stitch. Once you have that first split shell done, you're going to skip the next 3 stitches. Skip that one, skip that one, skip that one, and do another split shell into the 4th chain. So skip 3, do a double crochet into the next, another double crochet into the same stitch, chain 1, and then do 2 more double crochets into that same stitch. So now you've got 2 done. Now you're going to work this way all along the foundation chain row. So you're going to skip the next 3, skip 1, 2, 3, and do the split shell into the next. So 2 double crochet, chain 1 and 2 more double crochet. Skip the next 3, 2, 3, another split shell into the next, 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet. Right, now we have our, you can see where it's starting to form those shells. Got shells all along. So keep working until you get to the last 3 stitches, and I'll meet back up with you there. Okay, so I'm back. I have 2 stitches left. I'm just working my last shell stitch, split shell stitch into this last foundation chain here, and then I'll have 2 chains left. What you're going to do is skip the next stitch and just double crochet into that first or last stitch on your foundation chain. Okay, so there's the start of our scarf. For row 2, what we're going to do is chain 3, and then we're going to turn our work, so we're working back along these shells. In our chain 1 space, so in between the 2 double crochets that we have done all along, there should be a little chain 1 space. We're going to work another split shell. So we're going to double crochet into that chain 1 space, another double crochet, so 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet back into that same space. Alright, next one, we're going to work another split shell, so 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. Chain 1, 2 double crochets back into the same chain 1 space. And we really just repeat this pattern all the way across. When we get to the end, we're going to put a double crochet into the top of our chain, at the top of what would be this chain 3, although it's kind of hard to see here, but I will get to that when we get to that point. So let's just keep working our split shells into the chain 1 space all the way across. Skip over to the next shell, do another split shell into the chain 1 space, so 2 double crochet, a chain 1, 2 double crochet. Alright, I'm back at the beginning or the end, however you like to think of it. We've got one more shell from the previous row, so I'm going to put another split shell into this last chain one space. So 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet. Alright, so once we get to this end, at your last, after you finished your last split shell, you're going to have this chain at the very end, the very side of your work. So you want to double crochet into the top of the third one. So 1, 2, 3, just pop a double crochet into that stitch, and it should be the top of your chain 3. And every row is the same. So we finished that row, we're going to chain 3, turn our work, and do the same thing. Alright, you chained 3, you're going to work split shells into each chain 1 space all the way across. Do a double crochet into the top of your chain 3 space at the ends, chain 3, turn, and keep going. Split shell into each chain 1 space from the previous row, and that's the pattern. It's really easy, works up really quick. You just keep going with your rows all the way up until you get the length that you want your scarf to be. And as you can see, the pattern, especially with this self-striping sort of yarn, you don't have to worry about changing color or weaving in ends, and you get this really cool shell look. So I'll meet you back once you get the length that you're happy with for your scarf, and we will finish the project. Okay, so I have worked almost 2 full balls of yarn. This is what I have left of my second ball of yarn. Now that being said, when I got low on this, I went ahead and I cut enough strands from the other end of that ball from where I was working, and I cut enough strands to add some fringe. So I've done fringe on this side. I have cut, here's my working end up here, and I have cut about, well, I did 4 strands per fringe here. So I've cut enough to do another 8 on this side. So in total I have 8 little fringe ends, and I'm going to put 8 more along this side. So I went ahead, cut some strands. They're probably about maybe 8 or 9 inches long each, and I will fold them and weave them in at the end, and I will show you how to do that once we're done. So I still have a little bit left. I'm going to continue working my pattern back and forth until this runs out. Once this runs out, the nice thing about this pattern is that this end does not need any kind of finishing row. Because this pattern is already sort of a shell, it creates these scalloped edges, and so we don't need to worry about a finishing row for our last row. So when you run out of yarn and you don't have any more left to complete a full row, you can work your last double crochet into the top of that chain 3 from the previous row, and yarn over, cut your yarn, fasten off like you normally would, and that will be the end of your scarf. And then you can add fringe. It's optional, but I do like the way it sort of finishes off the scarf. So keep going. I'll meet you back when I run out of yarn, and we'll put some fringe on. Alright, so I have just put in my last double crochet, and I have this much left. I might be able to get another row out of it, but I don't feel like playing yarn chicken today. So I'm going to yarn over and fasten off. Now, if you do run into that problem and you get halfway through and you run out of yarn and you don't have any more yarn, you can just pull it back and fasten off at that end. Alright, so you can go ahead, weave in your end. I'm going to weave this in across the top here, and then I will show you how to put on some fringe. Now, I'm not going to cut my yarn because I might leave this long and incorporate it into the fringe, but I will weave it in a little bit just so it stays. Okay, so for the fringe, I have cut all of my pieces here. I'm going to separate them into bunches of 4. So here I've got 4 strands, and try to make them even. You want to kind of fold them in half, make sure they're even on the bottom, or as close to. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then what you're going to want to do is take your crochet hook, and wherever you want your fringe along the end, you're going to stick your crochet hook in. I'm going to do it closer to where my tail is popping out here. That way I can use it as part of the fringe. Alright, I'm going to grab all those strands, pull them through, even them up like that. Put all of these ends through that loop and then tighten it carefully. And there you go. Now I can use my yarn needle and kind of weave that in closer so it fits in a little bit better. And then any ends that are a little bit longer, you can just trim off however you like. And then you keep doing that, spacing them. You can put them all in each one of these chain 1 spaces. You can put them in between in these larger spaces. However you want to do it is perfectly fine. What I did was just kind of gauge. I put 1 on each corner. I folded my work and kind of made note of where the halfway point was. I put 1 in there, and then I filled in 2 in the middle, in between that middle fringe and the end fringe. Just kind of filled it in so they were evenly spaced. And there you have it, a 1-row repeating split shell scarf. I love how the colorway turned out using that red heart yarn. This heirloom color, really, really pretty. I was going to gift this, but I might just have to keep it for myself. I used 2 balls of that yarn. I believe they were 100 grams each, so you'll probably need around 200 grams to get a nice length scarf, including the fringe. If you're making this for a child or a younger person, you may get away with 1 ball of yarn, depending on how wide you have made your initial scarf size. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. Until next time, bye guys!